At a friend's party, my girlfriend was playing a game with his boyhood friend and lost to have a cup of wine. The crowd held their breath and all attention was focused on me. Everyone was expecting my reaction. Long time. I smiled bashfully and walked over to them. Keep going, keep going. The wine has been poured for you. Attending a friend's party, my friend asked me, "You and G Suite have been good for 5 years. When are you going to invite us to drink wedding wine?" The hand over wine. A cup of wine. Before I could even get my words out, I was covered by the uproar in front of me, and everyone looked in that direction. In front of the bar, G Suite had lost a game and was going to drink a cup of wine with the person next to her. And beside her. Sitting next to her happened to be her male best friend, Song Yen. When Song Yen saw me looking at them, he deliberately teared up and said, "Don't make a scene, sweetie's boyfriend Gu Pei is here. Let him do this kind of thing." He pointed at me, but his eyes were full of provocation. As the words fell, everyone was waiting to see my joke. And like a bystander, I watched it all indifferently. The atmosphere of the party instantly dropped to freezing point. After a long time, still no one said anything. I calmly picked up the red wine on the table and slowly walked to the side of the duo. Sparing a glance at G Suite and Song Yen, the corners of my mouth were tinged with a faint smile. Adding more wine to the two people's red wine glasses. Keep going, keep going. The wine has been poured for you guys. Don't spoil the atmosphere. G Suite's face instantly turned ironic, gritting her teeth and frowning as she glared at me. But I ignored her glare. Once upon a time I would never do such a thing. I would just pretend to go to the bathroom to pee, and when they were all done, I would come back and pretend that nothing happened. So today, I made this kind of move, something that Ji Tian didn't guess. Gu Pei atmosphere. That's the kind of boyfriend I want. It's just a game. Ji Tian, come on, make a toast. Make a toast. The girlfriend sitting next to G Suite coaxed. The atmosphere has been baked to this. G Suite can only collect up the green face, pretending to be generous to pick up the glass of wine to Song Yan. Come on, I'm a girl, do not care, you squirm what? Song Yan also did not polite, proudly looked at me after, and G Suite drank a cup of wine. Between the two drinking, I walked out of the private room and went home first. When I got home, G Suite loudly scolded me for being like this today, which I ignored. This time it was me who started the Cold War first. I and G Suite 5 years in the relationship because of the love of humble. So I have always been in the side of being led by the nose. Once upon a time because of love, I like her, and also willing to be led by her. But the disappointment saved enough, will not love again. Our Cold War lasted for half a month. Yesterday, I received a restaurant reservation message from her. I can feel that this is her trying to ease the relationship with me and give me a step down. In the past, I used to be the one to do this kind of thing. When we fought and had Cold Wars, I was the one who took the initiative to break the ice, make restaurant reservations, order cakes, and buy flowers. She would also cajole me a bit after I begged for peace, and I was so grateful that I forgot about my previous unhappiness and resumed my previous enthusiasm for her. All these years, it's always been like this, and sometimes I spit on myself, being a dog licker. But if the object is Ji Tian, I'm willing to lick for the rest of my life. I'm like a kite that she plays with, the line that controls me is firmly in her hands, and I willingly do. However, when I saw the ordering message from her, I didn't have the usual elation. Today is the 5th anniversary of our relationship. In previous years, I have long been ready for everything. Cannot wait for the evening when she saw the surprise reaction. But this year, I can't believe I forgot all about the anniversary. The fact that she took the initiative to think of it and booked the restaurant was something I didn't expect. Yesterday at work, I got a message from her and was shocked to realize that it was my birthday. I replied to her, "Okay, see you at the restaurant tomorrow night." Pressing out my cell phone, I continued to be busy with my work instead of being secretly sweet for a long time because of her gesture of affection, as I had been in the past. After work, I went to the restaurant I reserved first, at 7 o'clock at the scheduled time. I arrived at 6:30 with my gift. When I waited for 8 o'clock, Ji Tian was still not here. I called her. No one answered, and I didn't reply to my messages. At 9:30, the waiter reminded me if I wanted to serve my meal, saying that it was closing at 10:30. I nodded. Alone, I slowly ate my steak and drank some wine, and by 10:30, I walked out of the restaurant. On the way home, I wondered if maybe she was too busy at work to come over. She didn't come back until late at night. I was the only one sitting alone on the living room couch in the large house. I threw the prepared gift on the carpet and smiled to myself. The sky was already cloudy when G Sweet came back. When I passed by the living room, I smelled the perfume that Song Yan usually sprayed on her. It seemed like she was with Song Yan. Perhaps it was because she was weak-minded. Her eyes averted when she bumped into me head-on, and she was startled. "Why don't you turn on the light? It's scaring people." I didn't say anything, looking at her quietly. She seemed uncomfortable by my stare and took the initiative to explain. "I was going to go to the restaurant after work, but I got a call from Song Yan at the last minute. He said that there was a boss he wanted to bring me to get to know. As you know, it's not easy to make sales nowadays, so I went and forgot to tell you. It's all about work, you shouldn't mind, right?" After hearing her explanation, I was at peace. I wasn't angry, nor was I aggrieved or sad. Instead, there was a sense of accomplishment that I had guessed the answer to the riddle long ago. I knew it. Every time she missed an appointment, it was because of Song Yan. Strangely, this time, I wasn't sad at all. "If you're back, just wash up." After saying that, I went into my room. I was already lying on the bed and pretending to be asleep by the time G Sweet finished washing up. "Gupi." G Sweet gently called out to me, her hand resting on my back. She seemed to still have something to say. But when she saw that I was motionless with my back to her, she thought that I was really asleep, so she didn't say anything else. I was also puzzled. Her reaction today was very abnormal. If it were in the past, if she hadn't come back at this hour, I would have already called her countless times. Then turned on the lights in the whole house, sat angrily on the living room couch waiting for her to come back, questioning and arguing loudly. Shouldn't she be happy? After all, every time I'd been that upset or even hysterical, she'd looked on coldly, with a look of impatience and disgust on her face. When in a good mood, she will explain that he and Song Yan are just good friends, male best friends. When in a bad mood, she will dump the pot on me, saying that I am not generous enough. Careful eyes, no pattern. Now, I finally thought about it and let go. And she suddenly went against the grain. The next day, I just woke up and realized that Ji Tian had already made breakfast and was waiting for me on the dining chair. Looking at her attentive gaze, I pretended that I was going to be late, grabbed the sandwich on the table and headed for the door. G Sweet seemed to want to say something, but I refused. The whole day, I was immersed in work, and time passed quickly. After work, I ate out before returning home. Once I entered, G Sweet was sitting on the sofa. "Why are you so early today?" I asked her as I changed my shoes. "Didn't work late," she said. "Oh." I nodded and put my handbag away, ready to go to the study. "Gupi." G Sweet called out to me. "I saw the anniversary gift you bought me and loved it. I actually bought you one too." Thanks." I took the gift box in her hand. Opening it up, it was a tie. "I love it. I'll wear it tomorrow." I smiled at her and turned around, about to go into the study. G Sweet suddenly pulled my hand. "Yesterday, I'm sorry I missed my appointment." She continued to explain. "I was going to come over as soon as I got off work. This client that TV Song Yan introduced to me is really important, and I was also thinking that we'd make more money." "I believe you." I interrupted her. "Yes, I would have made the same choice as you. I still have work left to do, so I'm going to work overtime first." "Gupe." She still didn't let go. I looked at her in disbelief. I haven't eaten yet. Why don't we eat together? Oh, I thought you were working late and had already eaten outside. Why don't you order a takeaway? After saying that, I opened her hand, turned around, and walked into the study. Sit down, just open the computer. I heard the door bang closed. It was probably Ji Tian who went out in anger. After all, she sent a gift to me. Took the initiative to explain the reasons for last night's vow. The steps given enough. I actually did not go along with the trend. Indeed, a little give face shameless. But who said to give steps must be down? Do I have to be like the old days? She was angry. I racked my brain, trying to find ways to coax her happy. The answer is obvious. I will not. The Cold War between Ji Tian and I started again. This time neither of us took the initiative to make peace. At night, she sleeps in the guest bedroom. I sleep in the master bedroom, a rare quiet. No longer have to get up early to give her breakfast. Will not think of season sweet at work. Also do not have the heart to send her a message. The work efficiency has been dramatically improved. Once upon a time when I got off work, I thought about hurrying home and cooking for Ji Tian, but now I'm too lazy to go back. I don't want to care about her anymore. She loves to eat or not. No longer surrounded by season sweet turn. I found myself more time. In the past, I was really in love, and all my thoughts were on Ji Tian. So much so that graduated so many years or a small staff, all day muddle, no direction. But now figure it out. The heart is not in your body, woman. Do not want it. Until now, this wish has not been realized. For me in the past, the focus of life is to revolve around Ji Sweet. I even thought that getting married to Ji Tian, having a child, and taking care of our little family was happiness for me, the life I aspired to. Now, after coming to my senses, I realize that I am quite a failure. Emotionally, I have been giving and giving, but I have not gotten a reciprocal response, and the other person is not even willing to give the promise of marriage. Work is a mess. No progress. It's time to change yourself. It just so happens that the leadership of this new to a project, I no longer like before, can push on push. This time, I took the initiative to take it on. I heard that if I did a good job this time, I could hope to become a reserve cadre. Every day after work, I casually eat some meals outside, and then go home and get into the study room and start studying. I studied until I went to bed. In the past few days, Ji Tian might still be angry and come back late every day. This is just right. The house is quiet, convenient for me to study. This day, I unprecedentedly saw Ji Tian sent a friend circled. It's a set of 9-panel photos from a party with friends, and in the center is a photo of him and Song Yan hugging each other intimately. The two embraced each other under the sky full of fireworks, just like a pair of small couple in love. I can see that this is what Ji Sweet deliberately sent out to piss me off. Want me to be jealous, angry, loud to question her. However, I no longer have that kind of atmosphere jealousy feeling. Nor would I immediately pick up the phone and angrily question her. After I glanced at it, I even carelessly clicked a like, and then I didn't pay attention to it anymore. In the afternoon after work, Ji Sweet came to the company to pick me up in an unprecedented manner. Just as I walked out of the company building, I heard a horn honking and looked up to see that it was Ji Sweet. On the passenger seat sat Song Yan, and just as I walked to the car, Song Yan gave me a victor's smile. Gupei, I talked to a client with Ji Tian today, and she stopped by to give me a ride home. I nodded, opened the rear door, and got in. As long as Song Yan was in this car, I never sat in the passenger seat. I argued over this more than once, but Ji Sweet made it clear that she favored Song Yan, and there was nothing I could do about it. She said every time that Song Yan was carsick and was just sitting in the front, so why did I have to be so catty about such a small thing? I said that the passenger seat is my exclusive seat as her object. She laughed at my pretentiousness. I've never won over Song Yan in this matter. But every time it happened, I had to get depressed. But now, I didn't have the mind to count it all. Before, I cared about Ji Sweet, but now that I don't, no matter how much he provokes me, he can't lift any of my emotions. Song Yan originally thought that I would be with the same as before with the secret fight, but see, I did not care about him. He could only resentfully turn his head to chat with Ji Tian. I fell asleep in his to chat. When I woke up again, the car had already been parked under the cell building for a long time. Song Yan on the passenger seat had also long since disappeared. Why didn't you wake me up when you arrived home? I made it up and opened the car door. Ji Tian followed behind me without saying a word. When I entered my home, I walked straight towards my bedroom. Tired lately? Ji Sweet asked as she opened her mouth behind me. I didn't expect her to suddenly ask this question and turned my head to look at her in dismay. I just saw you all asleep in the car. None of our chatting disturbed you. She continued to add to the question. Well, it's kind of a project I took on recently. Not wanting to talk to her much longer, I turned around and went into my room to continue working on the project bid. Today, it's the same client from last time. The list is promising, so Song Yan came to me to help me follow it up together. His car was sent for maintenance, so I stopped by to send him home. Ji Tian opened her mouth and explained to me why she was driving Song Yan today. I suddenly felt funny. Once upon a time, I was often jealous over Song Yan's affairs, quarreled with her, had a disagreement and Cold War, and she never thought I was being unreasonable. She never bothered to explain, and now that I didn't mind, she started taking the initiative instead. Well, I understand. I nodded and headed towards the bathroom. I was going to tell you ahead of time, but then I got busy and messed up and forgot. She proceeded to have to explain it to me. I know, it's fine, it's understandable. I'm going to take a shower first. I have to keep working late tonight. Said I went into the bathroom. After entering the bathroom, my entire body was much more relaxed, as if unconsciously, I began to intentionally or unintentionally want to avoid Ji Tian. Maybe it was because it really wasn't in love anymore. I purposely dawdled in the bathroom for half a day, and by the time I finished showering and came out, Ji Tian was no longer in the living room. Seeing that no one was in the living room, I seemed relieved. Ji Sweet might have also sensed my attitude and didn't come back to bother me for the whole night. The next day, in order to avoid embarrassment, I purposely woke up half an hour early. The company attaches great importance to this project, so the other group of people also called over. After chatting and getting familiar with them recently, I realized that the acting leader of this group is an alumnus of theirs, called Lin Lin, a schoolmate 3 years younger than us. After this period of cooperation, I found Lin Lin's work is serious and responsible, and her life is like a little sun, full of energy. Don't look younger than us, but her knowledge base is much more than ours. During the period of cooperation, I always ask her for advice with an open mind. She did not mince words and taught me and my group members generously. The most coincidental thing is that we go home on the same road, so lately I've always been rubbing Lin Lin's ride from time to time. Just as I sat in the car, I received a call from Ji Sweet. Off work yet? I'm coming to pick you up now. There was a hint of displeasure in her tone, but I didn't care. No need, I'll be back after rubbing a coworker's ride. I hung up after saying that. When I got home, she was sitting on the couch, staring at me without a word. I ignored her and walked straight towards the study. I went to pick you up from work today and saw you get into a woman's car. Why didn't you tell me that your coworker was a girl? Ji Sweet out loud questioned me. You mean Lin Lin? Her home is in our neighborhood. Recently we worked together on a project. After work she stopped by to give a ride home. I explained to her lightly. In the future, it's better for me to give you a ride. You young men and women go to work together every day. Other coworkers will gossip. No one is gossiping. The company's coworkers all know. Lin Lin and I are just ordinary coworkers. You're suddenly so suspicious. Don't you feel embarrassed? This déjà vu remark made Ji Sweet freeze in place, not knowing how to react. It's really the wind and water turning. The boomerang that stabbed me earlier stabbed her before Ji Sweet felt the pain. Is there anything else you want to ask? If there isn't, I don't want to continue working overtime. Ji Sweet opened her mouth, wanting to say something more, but not a single word could be said. Seeing this, I walked straight into the study. The next day at lunchtime, G Suite unexpectedly sent me a message. It was her lunch today. The company downstairs new light food store. Look at the color and flavor. Not bad, right? I did not reply. She then sent another message over. What did you eat for lunch today? I couldn't figure it out. Was Ji Tian sharing her life with me? In the past, this was all something I did. I upslid our chat records, large swaths of text, all of which I was unilaterally outputting. Because I liked Ji Tian, I was sharing my daily life with her all the time. Seeing a cute cat on the road, drinking a cup of good drink, being praised or criticized by the leader, falling down while walking, discovering a new Netflix carding place. All kinds of little things in life like this, I like to share with her. When we first fell in love, we had a back and forth. Slowly, it became a case of me sending a bunch of messages and her just replying to the last one, usually just 2 or 3 words. I knew that a lot of what I was passionate about sharing, she probably didn't even bother to read. I went from being lost in the beginning to taking it for granted. Who made me like her? Who made me love her in a humble way? Finally, the passion I shared died out, and I lost the desire to send her a message. Looking at the recent chat records, I realized that for a week, I did not take the initiative to send her a message. The company's project was a small success, and the leader was happy to invite us to dinner. Once upon a time, I was able to put off such a party, thinking that Ji Tian was alone at home and I was going to accompany her. But now, I think it is necessary to have more contact with the leadership, so I followed the group and agreed to it. Near the end of the day, G Suite called. Gu Pei, are you off work? I'm downstairs at your company. Let's go buy groceries together and cook at home. You go back first. Our company is organizing a potluck today. We have to go home later. Is it possible? This time it's the leader's invitation to dinner. In order to develop my work in the future, I can't not go. I believe you should be able to understand it. I interrupted what Ji Tian wanted to say. The words were said to this point. Ji Tian could only go back gray. At 9:30, I received a call from Ji Tian. Gu Pei, are you guys going to finish? I'm at the entrance of your potluck restaurant. I'll come pick you up if you're going to finish. Her gentle voice came from the other side of the phone. It should be soon. Are you following us to the potluck here? Yes, I thought that you should drink when you eat with the leaders. You can't drink well. I'm worried about you, so I followed you over. It was hard to imagine that this was the words coming out of Ji Tian's mouth. The old her would never say such words, even in the years when I thought we were most in love. No need. I'll take a cab later and go back. Don't you have to work tomorrow? Go back too. First. It's okay. I'll wait for you. Not waiting for me to finish, she hung up the phone. The end of the potluck has been almost 12 o'clock. Once out of the door, G Suite came up to help me. I stopped, because today I hardly drank much. The whole person is very sober. G Suite saw the situation, also did not say anything. We walked to the car's position one after the other. She walked into the driver's seat and sat down. I walked to the back seat, opened the door and sat in. Seeing me sitting in the back seat, she frowned with an unhappy face. I didn't say anything and sat quietly. After a long time, turned to look at me. Gu Pei, I'm sorry. I just realized that waiting for someone feels like this. I made you wait too many times before. I won't do it again. It's okay. I don't care anymore. Hearing my words, G Suite's pupils shrunk slightly. Gu Pei, go home, it's late. I interrupted her. Just like that, we looked at each other speechlessly as we returned home. When I entered the house, I was just about to walk into the bathroom when Ji Tian suddenly broke the silence. Gu Pei, I've noticed that you've changed recently. I don't know if it's just me or... I froze and directly admitted, yes, Ji Tian, I think we both have problems with our relationship. It's time to talk about it. Seeing me so frank, G Suite instead panicked. She hurriedly said, Gu Pei, you probably drank too much today. Go to bed early, we'll talk about anything tomorrow. I don't know if it was my illusion, but there was a hint of trepidation in her eyes. Alright. I'll go back to my room first then. In the morning, I was just about to leave the house when I saw G Suite with her suitcase. When G Suite saw me, she carefully opened her mouth and said, "Gu-pei, I think you should be under too much pressure at work lately. I'll go stay at my friend's place for the next few days. Let's all calm down with each other." I sighed helplessly. "That's fine. I should be very busy with work lately. It's quite good for you to go and live with a friend." The current Ji Tian seems to me to be avoiding the problem, but she's not willing to face it, and I can't force it. G Suite, after leaving, I actually have a sense of relief on a long time. Do not have to awkwardly stay under the same roof. I am much more comfortable. G Suite left the 5th day. Song Yan blocked me in front of the house. I did not react. He gave me a hard punch. "Scum, is this how you treat sweetness?" Said another punch. Reacting, I also retaliated unwillingly. A few moments later, both of us had color on our faces. Song glared viciously at me. "What the hell did you do to Sweetie?" "She's been teared up at my place for the past few days. Washing her face in tears the whole day. If you don't want to protect her, leave it to me." What a laugh. Finally saying what's in your heart, is it? Song Yan, what are you babbling about? This is between me and Gu-pei. You stay out of it. Ji Tian, who hurriedly arrived, rebuked Song Yan. "Sweet, I am really heartbroken when you are like this." Song Yan looked at Ji Suite with a face of infatuation. I didn't say anything the whole time and stood aside like a spectator. Ji Suite walked to my side and apologized to me. "Gu-pei, I'm sorry. I didn't know Song Yan he would come over." "The friend's house you mentioned is Song Yan's house, is it?" I looked at her coldly. Ji Suite didn't dare to look directly into my eyes. Her voice trembled, because Song Yan's house is close to the company, so I took a deep breath, not wanting to let Ji Suite continue to escape. "Ji Suite, escaping won't solve the problem. We need to talk about it." Ji Suite's face instantly became pale, the whole person staggering, about to fall down. Seeing this, Song Yan rushed forward to support Ji Tian and turned his head to start blaming me again. "Gu-pei, you're really too much. Don't you know that Sweetie has a cold?" When Song Yan said this, I took a closer look at Ji Tian. She was indeed thinner compared to the previous 2 days. The whole person was also pale. But I thought that was because she didn't tell me that she was staying at Song Yan's house and was embarrassed that I recognized her. I said coldly, "It's just a cold. We're all adults. There's no need to be so melodramatic." The words just fell. Leaning against Song Yan and waiting for me, Ji Suite's entire body froze. She jerked her head up to look at me. I know that she heard it. These words she had once said to me as well. That time I burned to almost 40 degrees in the hospital. Everyone has a person to accompany the drip. I suddenly pretentious want to let G Suite come to see me. Couldn't help but call her. She on the other side of the phone indifferently refused. "Gu-pei, do you want to be so melodramatic? Are all adults? It's just the price of a cold as far as it goes." On the other end of the phone came the voice of Song Yan shouting for G Suite to eat. "I have a high fever of 40 degrees. She was accompanying Song Yan to eat. At that moment, my whole body was like falling into an ice cave. In retrospect, I was really so in love with G Suite. The next day after the drip, G Suite 3 words to coax me well. G Suite probably also remembered this thing. Her voice trembled. "I'm sorry." Song Yan on the side couldn't look on. "Sweet, it's obvious that he's sorry. What are you apologizing for here?" I smiled gently. "See, without me, there are still people who feel sorry for you as usual. Right? You think everyone is like you, not caring about their girlfriends." Song Yan glanced up at me. I had nothing to say and turned around to enter the house. Closing the door behind me, I thought hard about how I felt about Ji Tian's right now. Yes, I was 100% sure that I didn't love her anymore. Did we ever love each other? The answer is yes, we did. It's just that the time of love is too short, like fireworks, fleeting. I met G Suite, is in the university campus. She is the school's popular figure, want to study well, good character, even the specialties are at the top of the list. Life is also the object of the students sought after. but such a person, but has been secretly in love with Song Yan. Song Yan is also counted on the school of the man of the hour. He grew up in poverty, but through their own efforts to become the most dazzling one in the crowd. As in many TV dramas, the star-studded princess Ji Tian is in love with Song Yan, a child from a poor family. Song Yan thought he was not good enough for Ji Tian, so he rejected her. And I am the legendary big wrong seed. When Ji Tian was rejected by Song Yan and cried loudly on the rooftop, I appeared. I accompanied her silently and handed her tissues. Then we got together logically. When we first got together, I was like a piece of dispensable air in front of her. But after a long time, slowly G Sweet seems to fall in love with me. We also had a short period of time when we fell in love with each other and had a happy and wonderful time. At one time, we dated all over the city. Our names were always tied together on every final exam. The students all laughingly called us the Golden Girls. Just graduated from the time, we're looking for a wall, but after returning home can still lie in the dilapidated rental house, think about the future. Back then, every day was fun. When did things start to change between us? It was when Ji Tian's heart started to flutter, right? To be precise, it started when Song Yan reappeared in our lives. After graduating, Song Yan worked his way up the ladder and made a name for himself. Later on, he accidentally met Ji Tian at work. After learning that Ji Tian is already with me, he acted like he was very disappointed and regretful. Then he began to appear in the life of Ji Tianan and me frequently as a male best friend. From that time on, Ji Tian's thoughts were constantly tugged by him, and she couldn't help but wander off even during meals. No matter when or where, as long as Song Yan opened his mouth, he could easily snatch Ji Tian away from me. I don't want to humbly beg for peace anymore, much less spend the rest of my life in endless arguments and compromises. My love for Ji Tian had run out, and it was long past time to say goodbye. Making the decision to break up is the result of my deep thought and familiarity over this period of time. Since I am sure that I am not in love anymore, there is no need to continue to be together. At one time, I thought we would go on, get married and have children, hand in hand until old age. For the future of the good life, I thought of countless times. However, it's not a bad idea to stop in time. Life is not all about love. I have no regrets about this relationship with Ji Tian. Our beginning was beautiful. I have experienced the feeling of being loved. In this relationship, I have deeply loved, paid, but also harvested. I do not feel that I have wasted my youth. This experience has made me more mature and relaxed. I can love and let go. So on the day of the company's project completion, I took the initiative to call Ji Tian and asked her to go home to have a good talk. Just into the home, I met and went straight to the point. G Sweet, in the past it was me who deceived myself and pretended not to see the problems between us. In fact, the state between us has long been abnormal. During this time I have seriously thought about it and made a decision. About us. Gu Pei, let's get married. G Sweet suddenly interrupted me and pulled out a delicate little box from her pocket. I froze for a moment. She continued, I've been thinking about proposing to you during this time. The diamond ring is something I ran to several places to buy. It's your favorite style. Are you willing to get married? If these words were placed before, I would really be begging for it, because my biggest dream before was to get married and have children with Ji Tian. But now, there were no waves in my heart when I heard her proposal. There was even a hint of resistance. Unwilling. I indifferently spat out 3 words. As if it was her expected answer, G Sweet didn't have any surprise. She pulled out a smile that was worse than crying. Since when? I looked at her with a puzzled expression as she continued to ask with a sobbing voice, From when did you not love me? On Memorial Day? Or the day we drank a cup of wine? So that's what she was talking about. I shook my head. No, we had problems a long time ago, and it built up day by day before it exploded. Ji Tian's voice was choked with sobs, and she just apologized to me one after another. I'm sorry, Gunpei, I was wrong. I shouldn't have done so many things that broke your heart, ignored your true heart, and kept indulging Song Yan, breaking ties and entangling with him. I shouldn't have missed my appointments time and time again, and I shouldn't have been petty and misunderstood the relationship between you and your coworkers. I'm sorry, I'm sorry. She hung her head, silent tears smashing on the ground, but not into my heart. It turns out she knew all along that what she did would break my heart. But she did it anyway, because she was emboldened and certain that I wouldn't leave. Until I took the initiative to break up, the attitude is so resolute that it cannot be undone at this moment. G Sweet will only regret it. I ignored her, but she became even more frantic, pouncing over and grabbing my hand to death. I know you don't like Song Yan. I will delete my contact information here, and I won't see you again. I swear, will you believe me? Please give me another chance. I will definitely make it up to you. I gently shook my head. The conflict between us is not so simple. I don't love you anymore, and I don't want to condemn myself to be with you even more. You go away. Don't pester me anymore. G Sweet collapsed to the ground in pain. I didn't want to get involved with her anymore, so I directly walked into the room out of the dining room and chose to avoid it. Half an hour later, the crying in the living room stopped, followed by the sound of a heavy door slamming. G Sweet left, leaving her car keys on the dining room table on her way out. There was also a note that read, "I'm sorry." I clutched the note into a ball and threw it into the trash. Along with those old people, old things together packaged and thrown away in my life completely disappeared. After breaking up with Ji Tian, I returned the house with our common memories to rent and rented a new house near the company. Without the worries of my relationship, I began to work on myself. I put all my focus on my work, my previous projects were completed well, and with my recent good performance, I managed to become a team leader. The company gave me a 3-day band vacation. I am going to go out and have some fun and relaxed. Yesterday, I heard from the property management that a new neighbor moved in next door, and in order to be able to come and live here, they paid triple rent to move their original persuasion and helped them pay a large sum of liquidated damages. Just to move in and live here, and I heard it was a big splurge for love. I was still inwardly spitting out who was so hoity-toity when I just went out the door and saw G Sweet looking at me with a big smile on her face. I never thought that the legendary tenant who threw away thousands of dollars and was stupid enough to pay a lot of money would be Ji Tian. I simply did not want to take care of her, turned around and walked towards the elevator. G Sweet pulled me back and said with a resigned face, "Is this how you get along with your neighbors? I remember you used to be nice to the next-door neighbor's family." I shook off the hand that was pulling me and indifferently left a sentence. "You're really crazy." G Sweet reluctantly caught up and blocked the elevator door with her body. "I'm the one who's crazy for not cherishing you and letting you get away from me. I know you can't accept me. I just want to stay by your side as a friend. This is the result of my deep thought. Gunpei, other than moving here, I really have no other choice. Everyone is an independent individual. No one deserves to sacrifice everything for someone else. The Ji Tian that I love is the one who is always at the top of the grade list, who stands on the stage and shines, who is arrogant to the point of being unbeatable, and who thinks and never speaks lightly of failure. And not like now, becoming crazy and obsessed for love. G Sweet, please save yourself some face. If you don't want me to move out overnight so that you can never find it, hurry up and let go." G Sweet froze for a moment and darted out of the elevator room. The moment the door slowly closed, I saw a tear slip down her cheek. I had an incomparably fulfilling 3 days of vacation. When I returned, it was Lin Lin who sent me back. That night, G Sweet appeared drunk at my doorstep. She seemed to have drunk too much, and her tone of voice was a bit abnormal. "Gunpei," I said, "I'm willing to stay by your side. Even if I can't catch you back, I don't regret these efforts. I thought about the fact that in the future, you might fall in love again and walk into marriage with another woman. Then I'll be generous and smile and give you my blessing. But now I'm a little scared. If that day really comes, How am I going to live with it? Before seeing you let your female coworker ride in your car, I wasn't even happy about it. Now, seeing her drive you home and you smiling at her, I can only be bitter about being the first one to drink. I'm insanely jealous of those few people around you who get to see you smile with abandon. You're so good, so pretty, and you're back to being single. There's bound to be quality girls after you. Can I really just stand by and watch it all happen? She just kept mumbling and repeating, I was wrong. Don't leave me behind. Seeing how drunk she was, all I could do was send her back to her room, and I came back after settling in. After that day, I didn't see Ji-Tian for a long time. When I saw her again, she had lost a large amount of weight. She told me that day I sent her back after Song Yan came over, she mistook Song Yan for me, and they had sex, and then accidentally pregnant, originally wanted to abort, but Song Yan is particularly good to him, to take care of her in every possible way. Then one day Song Yan's mother suddenly came over, indiscriminately beat him, said she did not know how to behave, seduced her son. In the end, Song Yan's mom pushed Ji-Tian. Ji-Tian was pushed to the ground and began to bleed underneath, and when Ji-Tian woke up again, the baby was gone. Her uterus had been removed and she would never have another child in her life. Today was just after the lawsuit with Song Yan's mom debt. After listening to her finish, I was very saddened, actually do not know how to comfort her. Thinking for a moment, I was about to speak, but she smiled peacefully. That's it, Gu Pei, I'm going abroad, and I probably won't see you again in the future.